Hey everyone, welcome to Roll Call, and today we have another special mini episode brought to you in part by your two lovely hosts, Simone and Bria. Um, as we are getting further along in Jennifer Lopez's movie career, we decided to do a couple of episodes about what was going on in her music career and some of the other kind of fun and interesting pop culture things that contributed to all of the things that is early 2000s J.Lo.
Yes, because at this point it is official. We have arrived to the J.Lo era, which
We
is
have.
so iconic. So,
There's just so much to say. J-Lo, we love you. You needn't ask me 3 times to play your motherfucking song. So let's get into this. When I was re-listening to that album and that song in particular, I was like, yep, this is my opening line. I'm writing it down.
well, then, I mean, I didn't have an opening line ready, but let's talk about the album J.Lo.
Let's go for it.
So, J.Lo, the album came out January 16th, 2001, which when we recorded the wedding planner, I believe I mentioned how she's the only artist in history who had a number one album that is not a soundtrack and the number one movie simultaneously, which
Hmm.
I mean, the lady just keeps making history, right?
Yeah.
So that is awesome. And it follows on the six like pretty closely.
Hmm.
There's I don't know how she did it at the time, like movies, music, and just being a icon. Did you read any reviews?
Of the album?
Yeah.
I did not. I just know how this album was a lot. I mean, it wasn't as bilingual as On the Six was. I'm getting a lot more Euro pop dance hits with this one. And you can totally correct me if I'm wrong if you picked up on something else, but like I feel like the J.Lo album versus On the Six are two very different things.
Yes, they are very different albums. I don't agree. I think this album, she actually has more songs in Spanish or Spanish and like Spanish influenced English songs like Carino.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's another version that has additional songs or Spanish versions of songs as well. So I think she leaned into like singing in Spanish a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right about the dance Euro pop kind of sounds on some of the songs. And there's still like elements of hip hop in there, but there's not really a song like what's the song with Fat Joe in Big Pun? I love that. Feeling So Good.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
There's not a song like that on the album J.Lo
Mm-hmm.
until we get the I'm Real remix, which they later put on later versions of the album. And then you get the remix album with remixes of I'm Real and Ain't It Funny and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just talking about J.Lo, the album, no remixes yet. What's your favorite song?
So I know
Or
last
like what songs are you like feeling?
Oh, I know. I think last time we recorded when we were talking about On the Six, I had just kind of thought about when I was a kid how it was more common to buy an album or a CD and just listen to the songs that were like the most popular ones, the hit singles, the ones that you would hear on the radio, because why have to sit through the radio and sit through commercials or other songs that you don't want to hear, but like now I can just play that over and over and over again.
Yes.
Um, this was the first album that excuse me. I've had other albums that had swear words in it, but I think this was my first explicit pop album that wasn't Blink 182 or Green Day or Limp Bizkit or like something that was not like it was this was the first time that I heard a lady singer say the F word, and I remember feeling so cool. So definitely going back to hit singles, Play is a great song. It slaps. It's a very interesting music video, very 2001 futuristic phallic
Yeah.
spaceship that everyone's flying in. But when she says like, DJ, I've asked you 3 times, play my motherfucking song. And I remember I'd put that either on my like CD stereo or my Discman, and I'd like turn that part up a little bit louder because it just felt really cool listening to a woman say the F word. I just thought that was a real power move.
Yeah. So I did not have this album at my disposal, but I will say that it is amazing to me how hard this album starts out,
hmm
because it starts out with Love Don't Cost a Thing, which
Uh-huh.
is just like, that's probably the song you bought the album for,
Yep,
is like
100%.
Love Don't Cost a Thing. So
Yep.
first off, you're getting hit with that. Then you're getting hit with I'm Real, which I love this version of, as well as the remix. But
hmm
now as an adult, I really, really love this version. Then Play, which is like, all right, like you said, still a bop, like it makes you want to dance. And then you get Walking on Sunshine, which is like a cute little dance, like electros kind of song. And
hmm
then you get Ain't It Funny, and you start getting into some of the Latin sounds. I did notice like a trend kind of from On the Six to J.Lo, which I love noticing stuff like this, listening to people's music. I've noticed stuff like this with Janet Jackson, but like to me, If You Had My Love and Love Don't Cost a Thing are like sibling songs to me, because they're like songs about
Mm.
how she wants to be treated
hmm
in a relationship.
hmm
And then Feeling So Good and Play are like very upbeat party songs. And
hmm
in Feeling So Good, she I think she says like play DJ play that song. Like she says, so
Uh-huh.
it kind of has a similar wordplay. And then Waiting for Tonight and Walking on Sunshine to me are sister songs, because they're both dance,
Yes.
club songs. And then Should Have Never from On the Six and Secretly, they're both like your slow, like you said earlier, whispery, like R&B, soft R&B songs. And then Let's Get Loud and Carino Carino kind of, to me, her those songs kind of mimic each other a little bit. But I was nerding out about that. And a funny thing is, I watched her Let's Get Loud concert. There were two songs that I had noted, Waiting for Tonight and Walking on Sunshine. She performed them back to back. And I was like, see, smart, so smart.
I never
But
thought about songs like that in that way, like sibling songs of kind of
yeah,
comparing them closely together. I think that I kind of want to like pay attention to that more a little bit, not just with J.Lo, but with other artists. But
yeah,
I think you have a really good point too about this album, is that it starts off hard or a little bit more straightforward with like the dance hits, and then it
uh,
becomes a lot more softer by the
yeah,
end. She has her more like whispery ballad songs saved for
yeah,
the
that's
end.
true. But yeah, I encourage you to do that. I noticed it with the Janet album and Velvet Rope, and then kind of All For You. I don't know if that's intentional with Janet or J.Lo, but I think it's cool. Anyways, there's so much about this album that is just like historical and then controversial.
Yeah.
And I've been getting into little debates on social media with people about Jennifer Lopez. I I have come to appreciate her as we've done this podcast. Not that I didn't before, but obviously I am deep diving into a lot of stuff about her.
hmm
So I'm just not, I don't want to be negative about her doing this podcast. That's not our intention of doing it. So
That's true. After doing some research for this episode, I learned a lot about this album and some of her future songs about what we call ghost singing, and it's, using vocals from another artist. And it was a practice that is commonly used in the music industry. Like, artists sample each other all the time. Whether it's taking a clip of a song and imposing it onto your own, or taking someone's vocals or a sample beat or whatever. But I remember when we had talked about Selena, and I didn't know if Jennifer Lopez had sang live for that movie, because I just knew that the movie soundtrack to Selena sounded so different from her singing voice in her CDs and her other albums. And so
yeah.
then when I read that, like, no, she mostly lip sank for Selena, and we talked about that already, which is fine. It just kind of makes a little bit more sense. And I think a lot of it wasn't her fault. Whether or not she did it intentionally, of taking like Ashanti's vocals in the remix of I'm Real, or other instances of taking other female, Christina Milian, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah. And so in other instances, like working with Tommy Mottola, who was kind of grooming Jennifer Lopez to be very similar to his ex-wife, Mariah Carey. I don't know her. And I think that it's not fair to say that, one artist steals another artist's songs, when sometimes it's not up to them, and sometimes they don't know that they're doing it because they are just following the advice of music producers or other people who've been in the business for much longer.
Yes, that is a very concise way of saying that. So I did get into some social media disputes about this issue, because it was so innocent too, because I saw a tweet about Selena, and someone was like, she understood the assignment. I don't know if you've seen those memes, but a lot of people have been like tweeting pictures of like actors in different roles who like really, play their roles well. And so like they understand the assignment of this character or this role. And so someone did her as Selena. And so I was like, because of this podcast, I'm like, she is actually a really consistent actress. Like, she doesn't really get props for that. And I think that's obviously because once we get here in this era, she's become like a triple threat, and her acting career is not as forefront, and it's not what she's known for as much as music and just being famous. But so it started out like that. And then, of course, I feel like the whole thing with the Ashanti vocals and stuff like that is like such a fan driven thing. And because I remember listening to Ain't It Funny, and not so much I'm Real, more so Ain't It Funny, and realizing that Ashanti was singing on it. But an important thing I want to point out too is J.Lo's album came out January 2001. The I'm Real remix comes out like summer, September. It was like the number one song September 11th, like for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And then the first time I heard Ashanti, like where she was acknowledged as like a singing featured artist, is on Always on Time with Ja Rule.
Yeah. I mean,
that song,
they collaborated so much.
Yeah. Like they're like one of the best like R&B hip hop collaboration duos like ever. But that song didn't come out till like November later that year. And I didn't know who she was, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't know who she was. In retrospect, it's very easy to be like, of course, I love Ashanti's first album and like other stuff she's done. But like retrospect, it's easy to be like, oh, well, J.Lo just ripped off Ashanti's vocals, and, no one even knew she was on the song. No one knew who Ashanti was at that time. And of course you can feature her, but like background vocals are usually in liner notes, kids, which used to go inside CDs. And Ashanti is credited as background vocals. It's not like it's
Oh.
it's completely hidden or some lie. It's just it's things that like the average person listening is not gonna, really care about or look into.
Mhm.
Also, Ashanti helped. So I'm Real, she didn't write, Ja Rule wrote, but she did the demo track for it
Yeah.
so that they could play it for J.Lo.
Mhm.
I think in those instances, that's a producer thing
Totally.
and an executive thing. I don't think those are decisions being made by her in
Mhm.
terms of keeping whose vocals and whatnot, because she does have her own vocals on the song. I do agree that like Ashanti's are very prominent on the important catchy parts of the song.
Mhm.
But at the same time, again, it's not an uncommon practice. Toni Braxton has people doing background vocals on her sister is a primary example of that. Made a career of doing her sister's background vocals. It's not completely uncommon. I
Mhm.
just think people want to like any reason to shade J.Lo, they can.
Yeah.
And then like Ashanti and Christina Milian, like Ashanti wrote Ain't It Funny? Yes.
Mhm.
Christina Milian wrote Play.
Mhm.
So probably the same like demo stuff again. But they also get money from those songs, like from
Oh
their
yeah.
credits as writers and whatnot. So like, wait, I feel like Ashanti said she didn't get credits for Ain't It Funny, but like these singers and writers, they're not salty. Now there are other singers, I believe, who aren't like well-known artists and stuff in their own right who might be upset. And
Mhm.
sure, I believe they definitely have the right to be, but I also think that we have to also hold the industry that JLo is a part of accountable
I agree.
because she is definitely a packaged artist. Like she's already established movie star. She's already established dancer, and you can hum a little bit. Of course, we can make millions of dollars with her, and she's really pretty. Like
Uh-huh.
Tommy Mottola saw dollar signs, and you think he was going to let her album flop because her background vocals herself or her voice wasn't strong enough? No, he's going to do whatever it takes to make the song sound the best they can to get his investment back. So again, I don't think it's like as much on her as like fans want to like just crucify her for it.
I absolutely agree. And I said this last episode, but I can listen to you talk about the music industry forever just because, like, you're so well versed in it. You know your shit. And I would not dare a person to get into a Twitter argument with you on anything
I mean,
related to that. But
I,
I think that, like, your point to she's a very well packaged artist and someone along the same line that I can kind of think of is Britney Spears. And it's not a
yeah.
100% streamlined comparison. And yes, there are going to be many other artists who are also packaged. But I said this before, I think last mini up, in that she is someone who is a performer. Like she's beautiful, she can dance. And so, like, who gives a shit if she lip syncs or if she's like singing against someone else's backtrack vocal and they just raise that bar a little bit higher so that her vocals are not as loud as the other backup vocals?
Yeah.
Because the show that she puts on is going to be good. She's fun to watch. And that's kind of why my sentiment is it's similar to Britney Spears of like, you're not going to be getting Beyonce quality
Yeah.
vocals, but you're going to get a hell of a show and you're going to have a really fucking good time.
Watching the concert Let's Get Loud, it seemed to me like JLo's mic was on and that she was singing live.
Mhm.
And it sounded fine to me. I'm sure there is a backing track to some degree,
Oh yeah.
but I was actually impressed with if it was her singing live. And I think it was. So I'm just going to accept that as a fact that it was her singing live.
Yeah,
It's
and I
just
I don't think she lip syncs 100% of the time. I
Yeah.
think like for
When
Britney,
you
we pretty
dance and
much
sing,
know.
it's hard to
It's
do that shit.
so hard. It's so hard. But yeah, I agree. I think there is a bit of singing there and but like the backup or like the track vocals or whatever allowed and that's like commonly used in performance anyways.
Yeah.
As a former choir kid myself, like that's what my choir teacher would do for our performances. She was like, you can't lip sync, you are gonna have to sing, but you will have like we pre-recorded it ahead of time. So
Yeah.
she's like, so if you need to take a breath, it's not gonna sound like in the middle of it.
Yeah, and that's an important thing to think about too, because I'm watching like Janet, J.Lo, Britney, they're like doing all these like dance numbers and then, picking up in the song, and they're not like picking up and be like, and like, they're not like, so to some, like, I don't want to hear that at a concert. I'm like, boo
No.
boo, slow down, like, catch breath, like, somebody put the backing track up higher, like, something. I don't want to hear that. And so to go back to my Twitter argument, someone also, I was like, she's a pop star. Like, that's a hard job to do. Like, there are amazing singers, no doubt. We have so many shows now, The Voice, American Idol, all kinds of stuff, YouTube, TikTok now, that we get to see how talented people are all the time. Not everyone who can sing can be that artist. It takes a certain person. And
Yes.
even look at Ashanti and Christina Milian, not to like shit on Ashanti's career at all, because she's definitely like, her career is great, but she isn't in the same lane as J.Lo at all either. She's not a pop star. She's an R&B, like kind of maybe a little pop star. And so she's like dope in Black America, like we definitely celebrate her, but like the average person might not know who Ashanti is aside from maybe a Ja Rule or Two Song or I'm Real and Ain't It Funny. But her trajectory was different from J-Lo's. Christina Milian, definitely talented. She had a bumpy career that got sidetracked partly because of Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
So like she's talented. She was being developed the same time as Rihanna, and because the powers that be in the music industry wanted to push Rihanna instead, they dropped Christina Milian, and she hasn't had so much. I mean, she's had like songs here and there, but like she's not a household name either. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on, there's "Get Right," which is another song a lot of people like to talk about. The background vocals aren't hers. The songwriter who did that song as well, um, she's like, that song was like my first big check. Like I bought like my like first diamond from that check. So like these people are not at home crying because J.Lo has some hit songs with their vocals on it. They are
Mm-hmm.
cashing them checks and living their merrily life while we argue on Twitter about it, because it really does not matter at the end of the day. And then someone low-key tried to shame me, being like, I'm not sure, I don't want to judge your music taste or anything. And I was just like, look, homeboy, I'm not ashamed that I am bopping to a record from 20 years ago that I liked when I was 8. Okay. Like, sue me for liking what was popular as a child. And guess what? As a child, I did not fucking care who was singing in the backgrounds. Like, that's just a
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
Like, I did not care. I did not care. They were lip syncing in the music video. I didn't learn that till like behind the, music video stuff where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they're not even singing when they're doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did not care. So that's all I want to say on the background vocal stuff. It's a
I'm gl-
long bit, but
no, I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad that like you have defended J.Lo's honor. And I think again, like you bring this interesting perspective to it that people like it's so subjective, right? Like people are going to defend the artists that they love because they feel like they had been slighted by someone else. And someone can easily defend Mariah Carey or Ashanti, or Christina Milian in the same way that we can defend Jennifer Lopez. And I think that it just goes to show you that there are multiple perspectives and sides to every story. And instead of just saying, like, I was actually going to ask you this as like a funny slash controversial controversial question, but instead I'd like to retract that because someone posed on YouTube, um when I was watching, it's like an 11-minute segment on the the vocal backups to some of her songs,
Mm,
and someone said her singing career is her greatest acting role. And I was going to ask if you believed that, but after hearing you talk about it, I redact that as supposed to be like, funny, like little
yeah.
shit question because fuck that. She has worked really hard. She is a packaged artist, but I think, takes everything she does to a very professional level. I think she
Yeah.
does do her homework, not just for, or what, she studied the assignment. What's the meme?
Yeah. What is it? Now I'm blanking. She understood the assignment.
She
Yeah.
understood the assignment. And actually, I just saw that meme for the first time today. It came up on like a little 90s Instagram page, and it said Devin Sawa really did his assignment, or really understood the assignment in all of his roles. And I was like, I don't get what this means. But now that you brought it up, I understand. But I think she does. She knows what she wants to do, and she takes her acting and singing and performing and just, I think, her entire image very seriously.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't have to completely throw that question out of it because the a person on Twitter also was like, well, singing or she's an actress who acts like she sings. So
Hmm.
I've heard that argument. And my response to stuff like that is just, okay, yeah, that's not a negative to me. It's a negative to you, apparently, but it's not a negative to me because there are plenty of singers who can belt and sing and stuff, but like maybe they don't have a identity in terms of their style and they don't have a vision for like their music videos or their albums or their concerts and stuff like that. So to me, there's some artists I can fuck with in that sense, but then there's some artists like I expect like a whole thing. Like you want an experience, like especially if
Hmm.
you go to see someone live, sometimes you want the big stage and the fireworks and stuff. You don't want a little jazz club. Sometimes I want that, but it depends on the artist. I'm not going to go see J.Lo in a little jazz club. Like I'm not I might just because I'd be closer than I ever would probably.
Yeah.
But like, the intention is different. So we have to respect that with artists. We can't always compare people from different worlds, even though it's music, to the same stuff. It's different. So I don't think it's a negative that she acts like a singer. Like, good for her. Like, good for her. And I feel like people are too underestimating like the magnitude of her being an actress who transitioned to making music and has done it successfully enough to have number one albums and
Yeah.
songs that we're still talking about 20 years later. Whether you like it or not, it's still like a point that is talked about. So
And it's a
she did.
very difficult transition to pull off. And I think we talked about that a little bit last time. But like, even going the reverse way, we see a lot of singers who try their hand in acting, and
Or
sometimes it's
Beyonce. See, look, Beyonce, amazing at everything else. Acting is not her thing. Like, I will watch the struggle roles, I will, but like, yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
no, no,
you,
no.
but
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's hard to do both, and we don't really see a lot of actresses pulling off a singing career, and vice versa. We don't see a lot of musical artists pulling off an acting career. unless it's like just funny small role bits.
Yeah.
Or we'll see like but they'll maybe pull off hosting SNL. Another person I think of is Adele, who I've never seen her live, but she has more ballad songs. They're more emotionally driven. And she's going to be someone who just stands on stage. She might do an outfit change.
Yeah.
She might play an instrument, but she's not going to be doing these big dance numbers or anything like that. Then when she hosted SNL, I think earlier in this season, it was awkward. She
Really?
she like busted up laughing in a lot of her skits. She broke character a lot, and it's just
Yeah.
one. And again, just because you like fuck up on SNL doesn't mean that you're like terrible. But I think some people just are really great in their own in one category, and they
Yeah.
don't have to be doing all of these things to be considered successful.
I will say this though, and no shade to anybody else. I feel like, at least in Black entertainment, it is very common to see people from music and kind of acting, but like in Black entertainment, there are so many rappers who have made the transition to acting, and not in like a bad way. Like LL Cool J, Queen Latifah, Will
Yeah.
Smith is like Will Smith
Oh,
and Queen Latifah are like the top two who like switched over and like just took off with it. Aaliyah was doing that. I definitely feel like she would have had a bigger acting career if she was still alive. Just so many. So I wonder what it is with like Black entertainers where like that switch is not hard to do, but it's an interesting thing to look at. So maybe that's why J.Lo doesn't have a problem doing all the above.
I'm glad you brought that up. That was something that was in the back of my mind, but I felt not like it was out of my realm to talk about, but that I
Yeah.
don't know enough about or can't say enough about the rap and R&B culture as much as you probably can. And that's just, but it was, yeah, that was something I was thinking about. So,
So now that we're out of the controversy or controversial part of this album, let's talk about. I found some facts that I thought
Mhm.
was interesting. Like, she ended the Beatles' 8-week run at #1 with their greatest hits album. With this album, it was the first #1 album of the year 2000.
Yep.
That's a that's an achievement. It was the 11th best-selling record of the year in the United States, with sales of 3.03 million copies. The albums that outsold her, or like the top three, were Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, Shaggy, Hot Shot, which kind of surprised me, but I think you know what was driving that? It wasn't me.
Yeah, 100%. And where has Shaggy gone? Not we don't it's he's someone that we don't really see very much.
Wait, he was in a Cheetos commercial.
Oh, for the Super Bowl?
Yes, him
Oh,
and
yes.
Mila and Ashton Kutcher.
Yes, and he was in the ABC Lives adaptation of The Little Mermaid. He was Sebastian.
He was, yes. Okay, so like Shaggy hasn't completely fallen off, but
No, no,
obviously he
no. But
hasn't been super consistent though.
totally. Like Shawty Oh My Angel, like that's
Yeah.
that and It Wasn't Me were the two driving songs, and then he kind of
Yeah.
stopped.
And then of course boy bands were all the rage. So
Yep.
Instinct Celebrity was #3. And that came out the year before. So they were just really like just still selling a shit ton of CDs despite it not coming out that year.
Uh-huh.
Oh, so I did say, like, I'm glad we got the controversial part of this over with, but we're not done because you mentioned Mr. Tommy Mottola,
Yes.
Mariah Carey's ex husband, and the source of really the drama that is, I don't know her. And she still doesn't know her. I read Mariah Carey's book, so I feel a little well versed to say that I feel like Mariah Carey's just being Petty Crocker to the 10th degree.
Wow. Okay, wow, I'm gonna start using that. Petty
Channeling her
Crocker.
inner Petty LaBelle, if anyone asks. But so the big issue is that Mariah Carey, I don't know if they were divorced or separated, but they're not together.
Mm-hmm.
But Mariah Carey's working on Glitter, which
Mm-hmm.
is this movie. She's trying to make a transition from music to acting.
Yep.
And so she's working on Glitter. Along with Glitter, she's making an album to go with the movie. She wants to use a sample of Yellow Magic Orchestra's song Firecracker,
Mm-hmm.
which winds up being the sample that is used in I'm Real.
Mm-hmm.
How does this get to Jennifer Lopez? Well, Tommy Mottola hears that Mariah is asking for clearance to use this sample. I don't know if he heard her song. I think he heard some of her songs. But basically, he takes that and is like trying to sabotage her pretty much, I feel like, and
Mm-hmm.
is like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to ask that we can use it for Jennifer Lopez instead.
Yeah, no, I think he did that with the sole intention of either like severely pissing her off, or with the intention of maybe not getting with J.Lo, but just producing an artist that would be similar to Mariah Carey, that would be just as profitable.
I think, okay, so I just want to clear this up. To me, I think profitable, yes, but I don't think he thought he had another Mariah Carey on his hands, like vocally.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
but so I feel like we're again losing sight of who is at fault here. It's Tommy Mottola who's
Yeah.
the issue. And I feel like I don't think Tommy Mottola took the sample and was like, hey, I took this from Mariah. I want you to record this. I don't think he told J.Lo that that's where he discovered or figured out what he wanted her to do. So I just feel like she is like clueless in this instance and doesn't really like know what's going on. And then later on, obviously Mariah has an issue with her.
It's so
And then
sucky that women don't have like personal choice in their in this industry. And it's not the first time that this had happened where a man is controlling what these artists are producing and then using them to kind of pit them against each other.
yeah,
And I definitely want to bring that back up again because or yeah, like bring this conversation back up at and the part where we talk about Jennifer Lopez on Saturday Night Live. Um,
yeah.
because this is where it really comes out that she's like a diva and
Yeah.
I have some thoughts on this, but I'm gonna let you finish.
I was just gonna say too that there's also like shady producer stuff too, because I didn't get to say this in the last podcast, but um if you had my love has a sister song because Rodney Jerkins produced that song and he produced a song called If I Gave Love and he
Mm-hmm.
gave that to Shantae Moore. And if
Uh-huh.
you listen to them, they are damn near the same song.
Yep.
Now, do I think that J.Lo was aware of that? Oh, Puff Daddy. That's why that song exists because he heard the other song and he was like, "No, I want this for J.Lo, like
Yeah.
or something similar." And
Yeah.
so, and like part of me is like Rodney Jerkins could have said no or just been like, "Hey, if you want it to be about the money, hey, I got an offer for this song. It's higher than yours." What I don't know how that works, but it's just like the music industry is just shady all around. There's so many stories about shady deals and stuff out of artist control. Just fuck the music industry. Irv Gotti, he was constantly pushing Ashanti to give songs to J.Lo. I can understand that. She's an established big artist and popular. But at the same time, Ashanti was like, no, I gotta keep some shit to myself. Like, God damn it. So yeah. So and also Mariah Carey had did a song with Ja Rule for Glitter. And Tommy Mottola heard that and then wanted them to do the I'm Real remix. So that's how J.Lo and Ja Rule get picked together. So
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Mottola is the issue of I don't know her. So it really should be like, I don't know him.
Yeah.
but,
Or just
but
fuck him.
yeah. But that's how I feel about those two major issues with this album. Let's move on to
All
some
right.
positive
All
things.
right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Do you want to talk about performances during this time? Because she was making the rounds on morning talk shows and Saturday Night Live and VMAs, AMAs, all the stuff.
Yes, yes, let's do it. I think I saw like a Today Show performance or like Good Morning
Mm-hmm.
America.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like her performance. I think it's definitely different. Like you can tell there's a difference between this era and on the six.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that is like outfit.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is like she has more choreography with this album and these
Yes.
songs.
I feel
I'm
like we
trying.
also see her with more of an entourage this time, where she has more backup dancers, and
Yeah, yeah.
more people like either interacting with her on the stage. I'm also seeing a lot more fans blowing in the face. That
Yes. I noticed that when you asked about that, it was like, did J.Lo start the like fan thing because of the SNL skit?
yeah.
And I she might have because I'm like, huh, I never noticed that before.
Right. Well, I mean, shit, it gets so hot on stage.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, as a former choir kid, I mean, yeah, those lights are hot. You are dancing, you're fucking sweaty, and so having a fan would be really nice, actually.
Yes, totally. I will say so. I don't after watching the concert footage, I don't know completely how I feel about this anymore, but initially I was going to say that I feel like she doesn't do as much choreography as in my mind I thought she did when
Mm.
she performs.
Mm-hmm.
Like she stands a lot and sings or like, walks around the stage and not so much like always dancing and singing.
Yeah.
She does there's always a good dance break in a lot of her
Yes, that's what I
stuff.
was gonna say.
Yeah, after watching her concert, that's one reason I wanted to watch the Janet concert because, like, in my mind, she is the blueprint for all of this. Britney Spears, J Lo,
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce, like
Mm-hmm.
it's Janet. And in her concert, she does the same thing. In my mind, I don't know why I feel like she was always dancing. She does a good amount of dancing with her dancers and singing at the same time, but she does walk around a lot. I feel like it's the way she walks around, and I don't think she figured that out yet. I don't think she has like a signature. I'm not really dancing, but I'm still like moving and.
Yes, it seems like a lot more catwalk than it is a rhythmic dancing choice, which is so interesting because when she did Selena, again, she was like emulating Selena. She was trying to be
Yeah.
like her. I felt like her moving and dancing with the song was very spot on. But in these early performances, she has a strong stage presence, but when she's walking and making use of her space, it's more just like catwalk, with like shoulder pops and hair
Yeah.
flips rather than still kind of like what Janet does or what Britney does, and how they're still kind of like dancing and shimmying their way across the stage and singing at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's so interesting that you brought up in Selena. And I think that's because, like, obviously, like you said, she's mimicking Selena, but that came so naturally to Selena, obviously. But also, she had like a long time to figure that out herself. Anyways, it took some
Yeah.
time. So I don't think JLo has had enough time to figure that out in the scheme of this. I think if we keep doing mini episodes and listening to her albums and watching her performances as she continues to make music, I think she
Mm-hmm.
gets there. I'm pretty sure by Jenny from the Block, she has like gotten it down, her own natural stage movements.
Yeah. That's going to be a couple episodes away when we get to the special Benifer episode. So I
Yes.
very much look forward to that one.
Do you want to talk about like some of her outfits, like her performance outfits?
Yeah, so I know we'll touch base on this, but during this time, Jennifer Lopez was coming out with her own line of clothes. And again, just adding to this multi-hit talent of a dancer, singer, actress, now entrepreneur, question mark, with launching her clothing line. Um,
And her fragrance.
And her fragrance, that's right. And she this era we're getting a lot of crop tops, a lot of tight crop tops, but like long sleeve crop tops. um and a lot of her early performances for My Love Don't Cost a Thing, she seems to be wearing, it almost reminds me in a very small way something that Gwen Stefani would wear, because Gwen
Mm,
Stefani is also known to be very, I mean, kind of a fashion chameleon and fashion icon, but
not anymore.
no, 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 not anymore, but back in the day for sure. But
Yes.
I mean, so we get like these tight sailor navy striped or red striped crop tops that are long sleeve. Sometimes we get a half glove, or a glove that doesn't go
Oh,
all
yeah.
down the wrist, but it like just stops there. We
I think
also,
that's thanks. Wait, not quite this time, but I was going to say, I think that's thanks to Sex in the City, but I
oh,
don't think so. Not yet.
We also see I mean, this is the very unfortunate era where we start to get the embarrassingly low riding pants. So
Yes.
it's like sitting just above the pubic line. So between the crop top and 5 inches below your belly button, that was all exposed. Yeah, she was wearing these like low riding pants, but they were almost sailor-esque in a way that they were like wide legged, not necessarily
I
gauchos.
was going to say, did she wear gouge?
No, no, not really gauchos, but we also see the juicy couture velour sweat tracksuits. She's very like, it's very interesting to see all the different things that she does with her fashion, whether she's trying to be like street chic hip hop, or she's trying to be a little bit like retro sailor with the striped crop tops, maybe a little bit preppy with the polo shirt and like the side like golfer's hat or newsies cap.
Like Kangle, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So what do you think about the fashion during this time?
I hate, love it. Like after watching three very iconic people who very much this look is also in their repertoire. Um, and they all have abs. Britney Spears has her belly button pierced, which is a source of that surge in rite of passage of girls being like 16 and getting their belly buttons pierced.
Yep.
Um, I love it on celebrities. Watching it now as like a 28-year-old, like I'm like watching Janet, I'm just like, I still want her abs. Like even as a kid, I was like, that's what I want my body to look like. That's not what my body looks like. It's probably never gonna look like that. So like in that sense, it makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, man, I would kill to like be able to dress like that and feel confident in wearing that. And I think Zoomers are bringing a lot of stuff like crop tops and stuff like that back. But it's ingrained in my mind like as iconic and everything. But I just know realistically, like, yeah, I'm never gonna dress like that. I will say the I'm Real video and then her album, she has these like one piece jumper outfits that I think are really cute and cool. When she performs Play, she has on these like tight low-rise leather pants that have like laces up and down the front and the back,
Yes.
and
Yes.
this long sleeve like crop top tied in the front thing and a leather bralette. And I thought that outfit was amazing because I am so jealous of like the leather pants era of like this decade. I feel like a lot of people wore tight low-rise leather pants,
Yes,
like
they
Christina
did.
Aguilera,
Yep. Yep.
Dirty. Janet had some on in her concert. I'm sure
Mhm.
Brittany had the
Mhm.
red jumpsuit. Well, is
Yep.
that latex or leather?
I would say latex, but I mean, still like that skin tight kind of
Yes.
material. Leah had a pair of pants that were kind of like that, but they tied up on the side and they were
Oh.
red leopard and 100% from Hot Topic.
Oh man. And then I really liked her outfit for when she performs I'm Real, and it's like this maroon, again, low
Yeah.
rise pants, tie in the front crop shirt, but I was just like, this is the J.Lo. Like the dresses were throwing me off a bit.
Yeah.
Besides like her red carpet looks, but like performance wise, like this is the J.Lo like I'm familiar with. So iconic. Did you watch any of the music videos or?
Oh yeah, yeah. I watched Love Don't Cost a Thing, Play, Ain't It Funny, I'm Real, and then the I'm Real remix. So I
Yes.
guess you would say her singles. I don't know if she ended up making music videos for the other songs. Um,
She did for I'm Gonna Be All Right, but it's the
okay.
remix. So it's not like the version on the album. It's the version on the J to the Lo, the
Mm-hmm.
remixes album, which amazing remixes. But
Yes.
music videos, Love Don't Cost a Thing. It's so iconic. Like
Rolling on the beach, baby.
finally rolling on the beach. But like the most iconic part to me is, well, when she's throwing the jewelry and stuff as she's walking.
Hmm.
Yes. And she just looks amazing. Like that is like a signature J.Lo look, high pony and like
Yes, yeah.
just glowy. And then but the dance breakdown, I remember like thinking that part was so cool as
She
a
takes
kid.
the postcard and like rips it, right?
I think she rips, well,
She rips it
I think
after, like
later.
she picks up the postcard, and then now we're in the postcard, the wish you were
Yes.
here, and then that dance break's done, we rip it off, and then it's the rest of the music video. I remember that. That was
Yes,
huge.
and this music video is where she meets her second husband, Cris Judd,
Hi.
who's also in the background dancing as
Hmm.
a backup dancer. But I love this music video. I think this video is probably ingrained in everyone's mind. I'm
Yeah.
sure it was like all over TRL and BET, like
Hmm.
106 in Park and all the music video stations. I really like the I'm Real video too. Like,
She's riding a motorcycle. That's different.
yes, like ugh, I love it. And is she a mother there too? Yes.
I think so.
Yes. I really love the concert part though, like where she's performing
Hmm.
and then Ja Rule's like in the field. Like it's really random. It's like why is she
Yes.
in this small town in the field? But okay.
Well, I mean, she's trying to show like I'm real. I'm like not like sure it's not from like Jenny from the block, but it's I'm just a small town girl. I'm like real enough that if you brought me home to your mom in your small town that I could like make it work and go to this
Yes, I will
random.
perform in your cornfield.
I will perform in your cornfield. I will go to your podunk gas station and let the men ogle me as I get a Coca-Cola out of the vintage machine or whatever. But
This music video does scream like Pepsi commercial though.
oh yeah.
But you mentioned the play video, which is like a very futuristic, probably lots of green screen video. That one's just beautiful. Like I love like when I think of play, I think of the video and all the yellow in it.
Mhm.
And so I just think it's like a really pretty video. Um,
Yeah, it's very gold. And she goes through several outfit changes. Love Don't Cost a Thing. There's her breakdance one. There's the one where she's rolling on the beach. And then the one where she's walking down the street, like throwing her jewelry down. But I feel like with Play, there's more costume breaks. We get the crazy curly wig.
yes.
Well, I don't want to say crazy, but we get like that. We know that she has naturally curly hair or can have very curly hair with her movie roles, but we've never seen her with curly hair with this extent. And I thought it was really cute. I thought she looked really good. I don't think
Oh
that
yeah. I think
she.
the music video turned out better than the concert there because there
Well,
probably
they
was
had
more
time to,
time.
yeah, more
Yeah.
time for touch-ups and editing and stuff. But this is a very 2001 music video. It kind of reminds me of Larger Than Life from Backstreet Boys, which also takes place on a spaceship, and it's very kind of futuristic because Y2K, baby, everyone thought
Yeah.
that it was like wave of the future. So,
They had really cool CGI music videos despite CGI not being like what it is today, which
yes.
what are these pop stars today doing with CGI? Nothing. Like step your game up, okay? Missy Elliott's videos still look amazing. Like The Ain't It Funny video, that's like sepia toned, right?
Yes, it's very old-fashioned photograph. It kind of reminded me of like when you go to the county fair and you can take an old photograph like you're at a
Yeah.
saloon and it's like sepia tone.
I've
I
always wanted to do that.
When the world opens up, when we are, well, okay, we're both fully vaxxed. We gotta do it. We gotta do it.
Yeah.
We gotta try it.
But I really like her dance break in this
Yeah.
video because it's like really sexy. I don't even know what to call that, if it's like salsa or like merengue or like I
Mm.
don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just
Flamenca. It's very flamenca,
yes.
flamenco.
Flamenco, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just very like beautiful Latin dancing. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Like so
And to bring it back to a movie that came out this year, it kind of reminds me of some of the breakdancing scene, not breakdancing, but music scenes of the Moulin Rouge, where they were
ooh,
wearing something kind of similar, this like 18th century, or not 18th century, 1800s style, like Parisian
mhm.
dress with like a bit of a Spanish flamenco influence to it. And it's very like meaningful, hard, sharp step dance numbers. That kind of reminded
Yes.
me of that.
So technically, like the remix album came out in 2002.
Hmm.
I feel like because a lot of the remixes are from this album, though, it warrants talking about it now versus later.
Hmm.
And I just want to talk about. We've talked about the controversy behind I'm Real, but like that music video, I remember the making of the video for that video. I think there's a making of the video for Love Don't Cost a Thing too. Yes,
Yeah.
there is. Oh man, I didn't watch that. But I remember she like tripped when she's like running towards the beach and she like either hurt her ankle or almost twisted her ankle. But
Hmm.
anyways, the I'm Real video is so iconic because that is when we get the pink Juicy Couture short sweatsuit. What
Uh-huh.
I think J.Lo like made a point to wear it in the video. I think they had another outfit planned for her. And she's like, no, I'm going to wear this because that video is more so they're in New York. It is really like she's from kind of,
Hmm.
and it's more of a harder side of the I'm Real versus the other version of the song. So they made a point to differentiate them in that way. Like she's not super glamorous in that movie. I mean, she is, but that's just something you can't take away from her, I think. But this is pretty like chill for J-Lo to be in a sweatsuit. And a lot of people give her credit for like the Juicy Couture tracksuit phase being so
Yeah.
popular. And it's a big part of her J-Lo clothing line when she
Hmm.
comes out with it. Yeah. I love the part too where she's like playing stickball in the street. Like I think she looks really pretty there. I think she's wearing a striped top then too. J-Lo, what's with the stripes?
Was it the stripe with the, but was it, did this one have a collar to it? Because sometimes her striped tops would have
It's
collars
like a
sometimes.
rugby, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
kind of rugby polo crop top thing. Um, but yeah, so I love that video. The I'm Gonna Be All Right video, Nas is in it again. They're like in the Bronx. She's like just chilling outside of the house. She's in a laundromat. She has rollers in her hair. So it's like it's very kind of like, like those music videos, like it's summer and it has like an orange hue, like where it just looks hot and
Mm.
like sticky and stuff. Like that's what that video like looks like to me. But I really like that remix of that song. But I definitely don't think she deserves credit for the remix, but I think she is very much a part of the ascendance of these remixes of songs where a song sounds one way, but the remix like a completely different song. Because the Ain't It Funny remix compared to the song on the album, totally different. Wouldn't even know.
Hmm.
And they
They're
don't
very
make
different.
remixes like that anymore. Like
But yeah, you're right. Like the differences between the remixes and the originals are very different. It's almost an entirely different song.
at this time, remixes were a big deal. And I don't know if that's a budget thing, but like they completely redid songs. Like, but I think J-Lo benefited from this. Also, with these remixes, obviously we're getting rap and her music and more of our hip hop R&B sound. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that carries over a lot for her because I think the album itself is again more poppy.
Mm-hmm.
But now that she has like these songs of like Ja Rule and stuff, she's attracting I think black people liked her to begin with, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
but like she's getting a more urban, in quotations because that word is like what, but a more urban following because of that. And in an interview with Ja Rule about writing I'm Real, he mentioned that because he and writing the remix, and he was like, you know, it's totally not J.Lo, but it's J.Lo now because of, well, he's talking about Ain't It Funny, but he's saying that like this sound is like typically not her sound, but because of the success of I'm Real, it is her sound now because
Mm.
people, he says, after this one, they gonna be expecting hot crossover R&B joints from J-Lo. They ain't gonna want the pop version of J-Lo no more. They gonna want the I'm Real version. And I think that's
Oh,
very true. Like for
yeah.
me, those songs are like her standout songs like when I was growing up, and then like as she released songs. Obviously, Jenny from the Block is another song that stands out to me. I liked I'm Glad, but I wasn't playing that all the time, or it wasn't on the radio for me all the time. And then like her song with LL Cool J, for me, like her R&B rap collabs are the songs I gravitated to
Mm.
when they came out and I heard them. So I think this is like a big area of her kind of really honing in her Jenny from the Blockness in a way. But so I'm Real won the VMA Best Hip Hop Video Award,
Oh,
which I think is her second VMA. So we talked about the music. We kind of talked a little bit about fashion. Do you want to talk more about fashion or like her clothing line?
yeah, I watched there were a few clips where she went on TRL and spoke with a few VJs, MTV VJs, VJs, yeah,
Yes,
right?
video jockeys.
Okay, thank you. Jesus. All right.
It's so not in our
It's not in our vocabulary anymore.
yes, it sounds foreign.
It does. So, okay, there I watched a few clips of her on TRL, and she had different interviews with a couple of different VJs who were asking her about her fashion line. And she just said that, you know, coming off the curtails of the green Versace dress that she wore to the 2000s Grammy, um, that she just was someone who was always really inspired by fashion and always has really enjoyed dressing up and putting on different things and having fun with fashion. And so it said there's an article called from the Harvard Crimson called "This Year in J.Lo History
Wait,
2001."
from like the University Harvard?
I don't let's see, the Harvard Crimson. Let's see. Yep, the University Daily. That's it. And it was it said this year in JLo history 2001, but this article was written this year because they were talking about the 20th anniversary of the green Versace dress and Matthew McConaughey wedding planner and all of that, like how she had so many number ones this year.
They're pretty much biting our podcast now.
And they were talking about how just last month that Jennifer Lopez, in a genius promotional stunt, celebrated the 20th anniversary of that pre-viral moment by wearing an identical version of the dress and strutting down the Versace Fashion Week runway in all of her preposterously toned, oh my God, preposterously toned 50-year-old glory. This is to say that there is a legitimate case to be made for Jennifer Lopez and her daring V-neck fashion icon of this bizarre and hyper-performative 21st century. Yet Jennifer Lopez made sure to enshrine her lifestyle clout in the year 2001 by founding her successful fashion line. At a press conference, she told reporters, "It's time for the world to wear my look." Indeed, this sporty, chic line cemented Lopez's status as the aughts' supreme arbiter of mass culture in nearly every conceivable realm: the stage, the screen, the radio, and the closet. That's that was an article written by Amelia F. Rothdishi. But I just know I didn't own anything from the J.Lo line. I don't remember it being a huge thing from my upbringing, but that also wasn't my style in 2001.
Yeah.
And kind of going forward, I've never owned a juicy tracksuit or a velour tracksuit or anything like that. And that's not bashing people who did, but that just wasn't
No, yeah.
my flavor to
There were
do.
different, and that's the beauty of, I feel like, that time period. I think now with the internet and social media, like, styles are no longer really like regional or like subculture styles.
Yes.
It's just anything is up for grabs, like if you think it's cute, versus
Right.
like I fucks with punk, so I dress like a punk, or
It was
I
very
listen to
categorized.
yeah, I listen to hip hop, so this is how I dress. Like, is very hip hop oriented. But I didn't have anything, I don't think, from her clothing line. I definitely wanted it though, so
Hmm.
it was kind of up there with Baby Fat at the time,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
another huge 2001 thing that was probably a little more successful than J Lo's venture into fashion, just because Kamora Lee Simmons actually was like about it.
Hmm.
Um, she definitely probably, I just think at this time J-Lo probably had too many hats, and that's part of why it didn't do so well. In terms of longevity, I'm sure it sold decently just because of her name, but
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't these clothes, maybe this is just my made up like mandala effect memory of it, but I thought that her clothing line was sold, and this is not a dish or a like poking fun at anything, but I thought her clothing line was sold at like Ross or um not Michael's, that's the craft store.
Marshalls, TJ
Thank you.
Maxx,
Marshall's,
my
TJ
mom's
Maxx,
favorite stores.
Kohl's. Yeah, our mom, yeah, every mom's favorite store. So, and I remember thinking like not I was just being I remember feeling surprised seeing her line there versus
Yeah.
being her feeling being more associated with something that would be at like a boutique in LA.
Yeah, so my understanding of those stores are really like they get like stuff that is not doing well, or like leftover stuff and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't think initially it's not like now you'll have like so and so, this isn't clothing, but like the Magnolia stuff at Target, like a partnership with a store.
Right.
Or like I remember like I think like
Lauren,
Kathy Ireland was at Kmart, or
yeah.
Massimo was at
Yeah,
Kmart.
and
I,
Target.
yeah.
And
So I
Lauren Conrad like partners with
Yes, with
Kohl's.
Kohl's, yes.
Yeah.
So I think early on, like when it launched, it was probably at like Macy's and JC Penney's and department stores. And I think
Yeah.
it's like Devil Wears Prada, where she's like grilling her about her sweater, and she's like, and it filters on down through the bargain bin store where you sift it out of the bin and feel like you're not involved in fashion when you still are. So I think it just filtered down through like to those stores where it was now at a lower price point and maybe more accessible to people who might have like not bought it at a Macy's or JC Penney's.
Yeah, that's
Um
true.
yeah, you would, and you got, and that's not a diss either. I don't think it is. I just think it happens. That happened with Beyonce and House of Darion. I would see that a lot at Marshalls and stuff because my mom be
Hmm.
like, "Ooh, isn't this Beyonce?" Like, yeah, I'm not gonna wear that though. Lots of, I think, Baby Fat at one point too. Once it had kind of dived in popularity, was going that same route. So no shade to the J-Lo line, but
Yeah, no
yeah.
shade.
But I do want to talk about her Oscars dress because I was a little like oh
Okay.
because it is very beautiful, gown, but the top of it's like this sheer, I don't know if it's like an organza, but it's sheer. And um you can see stuff that
Yes,
that
I'm looking
is
at the picture now. I'm zooming
yes.
in.
Okay, so no shame that I as well zoomed in when I first saw it. She makes it work and look very classy,
I
like
know.
in a non like controversial Grammy dress way,
It
you
almost
know?
looks like a two-piece where it's a very high-waisted skirt with like a
Mm,
sheer piece of fabric kind of tucked in and like
yeah,
draped around her shoulder. But it's probably one piece, but it looks like it
yeah,
could be two.
yeah. This is just like a red carpet look that stood out to me.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, so let's talk about J.Lo on SNL.
Yeah, so J.Lo, she did a right before, maybe the weekend before her episode aired, she went on an interview with David Letterman, and this was the same interview where he had said that you always smell so good, which I thought was creepy, but she does look like someone who would smell really good, which I know we definitely talked about.
And I wonder if this sparked her perfume.
Maybe, maybe. So she was talking with David Letterman about it and how, she's done a lot of different acting roles, but this time she was really nervous because it was on live TV. And up to this point, besides Wedding Planner, she hadn't been in too much of a comedic roles. And so she was just really kind of nervous about messing it up. So there were four kind of main skits on this episode, which aired in September 2001, and it was the season 26 of Saturday Night Live. Her opening monologue, she talks about not being a diva,
I think
and
it's
she
so funny. Like,
it's pretty funny. She steps out in this blue robe, kind of this like fuzzy blue comfy bathrobe. But her hair is all done and she looks very cute, and a couple of people pop on set and like fix her hair or like brush up her makeup, and it was supposed to be very tongue in cheek. She's
yeah.
not supposed to be like, obviously she knows at this point that she has the reputation now of being a diva, which I wanted to kind of circle back to a conversation we had between her supposed feud with Mariah Carey and Tommy Mottola. But because there is a skit where her and Chris Kattan, who plays a backup dancer called Mango, they get
Yeah.
into a diva battle and they're trying to like out each other with their flamboyancy and over the top moves and just trying to be like the diva of the stage. And it's very funny. I think it works well. I don't know if the Chris Kattan's character of Mango holds up well, but I think
No, yeah.
I think overall you can tell that she's having fun with it. They're rolling around on the ground, they're wrestling.
Yeah.
It's pretty cute, and I did enjoy that. And I think in my mind, I like to think at this point, Jennifer Lopez knew what people thought of her. And it's that saying of like, if you can't beat them, join them, where she was
Yeah.
like, fine, if they think I'm a diva, I'm going to give them what they want. And I think the world just likes the drama, and they like to, unfortunately, see people duke it out or fight against each other because that adds spice in the celebrity world. It gives the tabloids something to talk about. It gives the Perez Hiltons of the world
It
something to
gives the
talk about.
fans.
Yes, and it also builds a stronger fan base because there was, have you seen that like iconic video of there were fans that were waiting in front, I think either waiting for Jennifer Lopez to come out to do a signing of her album, and there was one girl who's like Mariah forever, and she's just like throwing Mariah posters over the J.Lo posters to try and,
Wow.
I mean, it's very much BSB in sync, right? You're either one or the other. You're usually not both. Um,
feel like
So,
though that is like,
mhm.
but I feel like that's also a musical choice, at least for me, like a musical choice, and then who's cuter choice. Like,
You're right with between Jennifer Lopez and Mariah Carey, it's a musical difference. They have poppy hits, but they sound so different. And their abilities are also very different. But I think people just wanted to label her as a diva because it fed into this whole feud and competitiveness that we see in the music industry. And I felt like she just kind of
yeah.
had fun with poking fun at herself a little bit. So the whole funny bit of the I'm not a diva opening monologue, she was like, would a diva wear this robe on stage? Come on now. Like she's trying to be like, I'm real, it's fine, I'm cute. And then at the end, she takes it off. She's wearing the Versace dress underneath. Another skit is a segment called Good Morning Bronx, where Jennifer Lopez plays a reporter called named Cindy Gonzalez. And I think it was just a one-off thing, a one-off skit. But we have Rachel Dratch come on the show as a character named Mrs. Rosengard. There is Tracy Morgan as Dominican Lou, and he's the weatherman. And that one's very funny. We have the
Yeah.
actor Jerry Minor playing Clyde. Um, in this as well, who is Jennifer Lopez's like side co-host. So that was pretty funny, and I think again that's a total nod to Jenny from the Block, even though this was pre Jenny from the Block, but just paying homage to her
Well,
being in the
J.Lo,
Bronx.
yeah, J.Lo's very vocal about being
Oh
from
yeah,
the Bronx
she's very Bronx proud, and Saturday Night Live taking place in New York.
in
It's
New, yeah.
filmed, so that was fun. They talked about Derek Jeter a little bit. And then the third skit that stood out was the MTV Cribs
Yeah.
spoof. And they're just in this like tiny little shack studio apartment. And it's this girl group called Gemini's Twin. And Jennifer Lopez plays a character called Lady Speedstick, who's like the third rotating member of the group. I don't know, a la Destiny's Child.
Mm,
Who knows if
3LW.
3LW, yeah, if that's what they were trying to go after. But
Yeah.
it's just it's very funny. It's we have a young Maya Rudolph and Anna Gasteyer, and it's cute.
That's the other thing about watching this is seeing like the cast. Like Will Ferrell is still on SNL at this point, which
Yeah.
like just the cast is like iconic. But the lady speed stick is funny, and like she's like a rapper. She's the
Yes.
rapper of the group, and then they're like touring their apartment, and it's like it's really small and it's just really not cribs worthy. But I also feel like this is another good showcase. Again, like you said, she hadn't done a lot of comedic stuff besides maybe The Wedding Planner, because rom coms have a little bit
Yeah.
of, physical humor or stuff in it. But I think I was really impressed with her in the mango skit, because when she get kind of irritated and mad with him, like I'm like, oh shit, like she is a diva. No. And even the Good Morning Bronx, like at some point she's like frustrated because she's like trying to seriously be like a anchor host, and like there's just so much chaotic stuff going on. So I thought she like held her own on SNL. Like she did really good.
Yeah. And she's gone on about four more times. I think she's been on SNL a total of five times.
Really?
And yes, yeah. And so I hope we get to talk about those performances in later
Well, now we
segments
have to.
if we clip them in. But she, this, I think she's only gotten better. There's been some, in my opinion, hilarious sketches from the later years. I think the last time she was on SNL, she was promoting Hustlers.
Yeah. I want to see, because I've seen that other people have played her, like spoofed her on SNL. So I kind of want to watch
Yes.
like those where like what they're making fun of her about in a way.
Yes. And I think we
Um
should bring up the South Park spoof of Jennifer Lopez, but we have to bring
yes.
that up in the Bennifer episode.
Yes. Oh my God. All right. So on SNL, though, I think this is the only time she hosted and performed.
Yes. Yeah.
So you want to talk about her performances? Because she performed Love Don't Cost a Thing, right? I want to say her SNL performance outfit was a striped long sleeve crop top
Probably.
with white pants. That's what it's in my mind as. So that's what I'm going with.
Well, when you're hosting and performing, it's so quick, fast paced behind the
Yeah.
scenes that she probably didn't have time to do a big elaborate thing.
Well, they might do it where like they do a skit without her and so she can prep to perform and
Mm-hmm.
then do another skit without her so she can prep for a skit. So I don't know how that works,
That's true.
but yeah, I liked her performances on SNL. Pretty standard. I feel like I did, of course, notice Cris Judd in the background again,
Mm-hmm.
dancing away. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good segue into talking about her marriage and relationship with Cris Judd.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot on this. I think this is going to be relatively short and probably like the end of this bonus episode.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, prior to this, she was with Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, and they broke up in 2001 in like February. So she's with Puff Daddy, and then, she starts getting spotted around town with Cris Judd, who she met on the Love Don't Cost a Thing video. And let him tell it, he like met her and was like, I'm going to marry this woman, which honestly, if I was a dude, that would be my that would be my thoughts if I met J.Lo, or be like, damn, I would marry her. At least it's a bit he has some confidence to be like,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna marry her.
Uh-huh.
So props to you, Cris Judd. But he does it. He pulls it off. And not in a K-Fed way. I actually think he is one of her better exes, like in a way, in terms of like there wasn't a lot of negative stuff surrounding them. But yeah, he just seems like a nice guy to me. And I think that's what appealed to her, because she I wish I had written this down or whatever, but I've seen her kind of say that, like, obviously she was in this very big, tumultuous relationship with Puff Daddy. And, there's just so much going on with that. He might have been cheating and not so faithful and not that great of a boyfriend. And
Uh-huh.
so she just wanted someone who's going to like dote on her and love her. And Cris was that guy. He stepped up to the plate and kind of was giving her the attention she wanted and needed
Yep.
post Puff Daddy. So, and it seems like they were together a lot. Obviously, if he's background dancing for her for a lot of things, like he was on like Today Show or Good Morning America, he was dancing with her, SNL. So they're traveling and doing stuff together a lot. So it makes sense. I will say that I think a lot of people were caught off guard that they got married so fast.
It was a quick relationship, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is like what I think just in general, like after Puff Daddy, there's just a heightened interest in Jennifer Lopez's dating life at this
Yeah.
point. So it really doesn't matter who she dates. Everyone, or, the media is going to be interested in, writing stories about that, getting pictures of them and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah,
And then,
it's the drama of it all.
yes. And then obviously them getting married, like apparently is really stressful because they got married in California in like the hills or something, and they had to have like buses to bus people to where the wedding was, and so that like there weren't leaks and all this stuff and like paparazzi and stuff like
Oh,
that.
like they tried to keep it really private.
Yeah, and I think there's like helicopter photos of like the tent and stuff, but it just I can only imagine, like, weddings are already nerve-wracking enough. You want it to be a certain way, and then to add in like this element of paparazzi and the media, like who wants to get married with a helicopter floating overhead, like snapping pictures, trying to get an exclusive? Like that doesn't sound like fun. So,
Yep.
and part of me feels like Cris Judd just like he was a normal dude, and I don't know that he could handle the craziness that was the Jennifer Lopez world
Right.
like at that time.
I think that that's like what makes a lot of celebrity couples crumble is just that constantly being in the spotlight, being speculated about, especially if you're someone who is a little bit more behind the scenes. And now all of a sudden you are front and center. It takes a very strong relationship to keep that together, to keep that
Yeah.
ship afloat.
And I think it was Ohani Noah more so than Cris Judd, but like I guess he had said, like it's gonna be great, like at the beginning, like it's gonna be awesome. But like she does not like fight and work through like the hard stuff.
Yeah.
So be prepared. And I feel like part of me is like, oh man, that explains a lot. But then part of me is like, I mean, if you just know something's not going to work, sometimes the best thing is to just like, and I feel like she is obviously in a position to do that a lot of the time. So she does that. And I think that is alarming for some people. But,
Mm-hmm.
what's the point in sticking in something and it not, fighting for something and you kind of know it's not going to work, but you're like, I should give it the college try or
At least you're
whatever.
trying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you expect there to be like issues and fights and stuff like that. And then, like, obviously, all that stuff making it hard to continue on. But, like, to just like be like, I don't think I can be married to Chris anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is going to work. Either shows like either she's not willing to fight or she just knows what she wants and is just not gonna fight for like something that's not what she wants. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Cris Judd, I think you're a beautiful blip on the J.Lo dating marriage radar. So I enjoyed your couple pictures. You guys were kind of cute together. I mean, in terms of like all of her relationships, like who she looks best with. I think she's super iconic with Puffy, obviously, for fashion reasons and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then her and Ben Affleck are like the glamorous Hollywood couple. She just seemed like really toned down with Chris, I think. Like, I think that's the most, besides when she started out with Ohani, like, it's the most kind of normal she looks sometimes.
Okay.
Like she's got like a boho vibe with him a lot of the time. I think ponchos start to be popping around this time, very like the floppy hat J.Lo. There's a look, I think, and he's like wearing like this kind of tunic shirt and they look very like boho chic together. But yeah.
Ponchos be popping.
Ponchos be popping.
Did you ever have one of those?
I did have a few ponchos, yes, in like middle school. I think that was like the time ponchos were popping. So had a few. I think like I wore them for like I think I wore them to school, but like a lot of times like church or like holiday stuff,
Because it was a classy cover up. You could wear it.
Yeah.
Could wear it to cover thy shoulders to church.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
A classy cover up. All right. Well, I think we have done the year of 2001, the era of J to the LO.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good.
I agree. I mean, of course there's going to be things that we miss, but I'm glad that you brought up your Twitter feud from this week. And that we got to talk about a major album, the J.Lo album, and then even a little bit about Remix, get into some of those live performances. And I have just really enjoyed this time with you and learning more about her as an artist. And I was always a fan, but I feel like I am so much more of an appreciative fan now than more of a passive fan.
Yeah, same. I feel like I was a casual J.Lo fan. Like I liked her singles. I liked the music videos and stuff like that. Obviously, she's gorgeous, but I can have Twitter disagreements with people because I have a stronger sense and understanding and foundation of like stuff to base my argument on. So Totally, yes. If anyone from Twitter winds up listening to this podcast, no hard feelings. That's the beauty of Twitter.
Hard feelings for me. Speak for yourself, Bria.
It's funny because like in the midst of that, I was like, you know what? I really don't care this much. Like, and it's a different, I think it's a different level of not caring, because like I care because I feel like the point of view is like, you're missing my point of view. I totally understand what you're saying. Like, and I'm not knocking it. You guys people had me being like, yeah, she's a total industry plant. Like, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not saying that she's singing the backgrounds. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it really isn't it's to quote Evelyn Lizzotta from Basketball Wives, it's a non-motherfucking factor. Like, it is not a factor in how much I enjoy these songs, the music videos. Also, to me, I'm like, they're 20 years old. J.Lo's 50. She's still making music. She's still doing stuff. If this was such a big problem, like these are really conversations that should have been happening in the 2000s. And I feel like to try to have them in 2020, and it's too little too late. Now, if you were a casual like J.Lo fan and you're like, oh, she all right, but I don't really like go out of my way to listen to her, of course you're like, oh, she wasn't singing I'm Real Off. Like, so you're not invested already. Like, it's okay. Like, that is fine. That's completely fine. And bottom line for me with like going back and forth about artists is that they are millionaires. They are living the great life. I do not get compensated for sticking up for them, for two people that they are not even thinking about. You really think they care that we're going back and forth on Twitter about? No, they don't. So I don't really care either. Like, it is what it is. You like what you like. I like what I like. And that's fine. But I think it's just I feel like it's the respect. Like, put some respect on their names. Like, don't disrespect J.Lo. Like, you can not fuck with her music, but you can't disregard the fact that she has an actual solid acting career, which is what the conversation started about. People want to disregard that and talk about the music. And it's like, okay, we could talk about the music. I don't really care about all the things you think are negatives, but like, we were talking about her acting and it's actually solid. Like, she's not a bad actress.
Agreed. Like, you don't have to like her, but you have to at least acknowledge her, what you said, her accomplishments, her capabilities, and put some respect. Let's give some respect. I wrote that down. That's my Bria quote for the day.
Oh, that's not from me. A lot of this stuff is like me stealing other people's shit. That's like from Birdman. But yes, but it's like Taylor Swift too. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I can totally acknowledge that she is an amazing songwriter, and like, obviously she has had a very long career. I liked her when she started out, but like, I don't follow her or anything, but like, she is where she is for a reason. I'm never gonna be like, oh, like, she doesn't deserve like the Grammys she won and stuff. Do I want Beyonce to win some of them? Yes. But like, Taylor Swift is there for a reason as well. So
yes. Agreed.
And on that note, put some respect on somebody's name.
Put some respect on J.Lo's name. And thank you for sticking around with us and listening to this podcast so far. We are going to resume next week with Enough 2002. Just like Wedding Planner, I have highly anticipated getting to this point, but it's also crazy to think that we are only in 2002. Like, we are 18 years away from where we are right now in this moment in time, 19 years away from this moment in time, but I'm very excited to get to Enough next week.
Yes, I am too. We're planning to watch this movie together, so that's something to look forward to.
Yes.
And yeah, just listen to the music and enjoy it, okay? Or that's it.
That's it. And cut.
That's a wrap.